We're preparing students for the tactical approach. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to explain how it works. Guys, we've been talking about it for a few weeks now. We'll just kind of review it one more time, just so we're getting the concepts down. We're going to talk about developing rules of routine and the management that's used during instructional or during tactical instruction, and then how to set up different games and categories in the tactical approach. So just to review the warm-up, the traditional approach is what we're looking off of originally. It was warm-up, practice skills, introduce new skills, practice them, play a game, some kind of game situation, and then warm down. So we're getting rid of that, and what we're going to do, so we're getting rid of this, and we're going to open up to the games approach, the tactical approach, which is going to be a warm-up activity. You're going to play some kind of modified game right away, stop that game, work on a skill opportunity, go back and play that modified game again, skill opportunity, modified game, and that could go on and on. You know, how long you play the games is going to be up to you as a teacher. You're going to be saying, okay, well, how do they do it? I was using soccer, so I'm going to continue using soccer as my unit plan. You guys each did a unit plan. Jacob, you did basketball, and Charlene, you did ultimate frisbee. And we're going to go into them and look at them a little bit more towards the end of class today. But what we're going to do, for me, soccer, I'm going to look at small-sided games. I'm going to have my class play soccer. They're going to play a small-sided game of soccer, and I'm going to watch. I'm going to see what's going on. Okay, I'm watching. Their ball control is not great, and they keep losing the ball. So we stop. Okay, I'm going to teach you the pullback. You do the pullback. You demonstrate for them. You tell them how to do it. You show them, and then you let them go. You could say, go back to your teams real fast, and everyone practice it. 2-second, 3-minute practice, 2-minute practice. Go back to the game situation. We're going back in the game situation. I want to see you using it. 2-3 minutes go by. We give them another ball handling skill. Circle the ball with your foot and decide which way you're going to go. And then you go back and forth, and that can, like I said, go on and on. And at the end, you kind of do your assessments as you're going, and you're watching to see what's going on, and you're making those adaptations and those changes. But what are we working on? And that was our skill focus. That's what we filled out on that paper, or not paper, but the Google form. Today, we're preparing them for small-sided games. Rules, routines, and warm-ups, they should be consistent each time we teach, right? Right, have you talked about consistency before? Yes, no? Come on. You guys gotta give me something here. Yeah. Okay. So, oops. I need to go back. It's not that. Let me go back. All right. So, you're developing your rules and routines and your games, what you're going to do. So, we're going to hit to the invasion style. Invasion style, remember, like our traditional soccer or basketball, stuff like that. One of the things to do is when you're setting it up, you're setting up small-sided games. So you're going to look at the number of students you have in your class. How many can I accommodate? How much space do you have? Jacob, when we did the soccer clinic, I had a grid of 8 fields, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew I could accommodate 8 groups of soccer players.
Yeah.
If I'm in a gym, or if I have 1 field, I can divide it up this way. If you look up here, I do things color coordinated. Why do I do color coordinate? Do you want to take a guess? Right, it helps me become more organized. These are the permanent courts, so I know this is the red court, this is the yellow, this is the green, this is the blue. And I always use the same colors, and I follow them according to the colors of the rainbow. So court 1, no matter what I do, is always going to be red. Right, Roy G. Biv? You not hear that before? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet? Never heard that before? Wow. Okay, sorry. That surprised me. That's the colors of the rainbow and the colors of the spectrum. So red's always first. That way I know red is always first, orange is always second, yellow is third, and then blue, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. It's like purple. Now, if I have to make variations on that, some of the things I do is I do light green and dark green, light blue, dark blue, and then purple. So, like in a soccer clinic, I have 8 fields, so it goes red, orange, yellow, green, light green, dark green, light blue, dark blue, and purple. So it goes in a clockwise, so I know which fields are which. And those fields go every time. If there's only 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, red, yellow, green, and blue. Why? Well, the most common colors, so they're easier to get equipment for. It's really tough trying to get a purple ball sometimes or whatever. All right, so divide courts up evenly, so they should be longer than shorter. The permanent courts, small-sided games. So if we have a class of 24, we have to decide, right, how many players are on each team. So if we wanted to play 3-sided games and we have 4 courts, we can say, okay, 3 versus 3. So each court has how many players on it? 6 each. Right. 3 plus 3 is 6. Come on. Come on, these are math skills, guys. We can do this stuff. All right, so there's 6.
Courts?
And there's 4 courts. 6 times 4.
24.
24. There we go. You guys are math whizzes now, too, right? Gotta make you think a little bit. So if I wanted to play 4 versus 4, what do I need? How many are on the court now? How many is on one field? 4 versus 4. 8. Okay.
So you have 3 courts.
3 courts.
Yeah.
There we go. Do you see how this works now? So you didn't say that word, did you?
Bad.
You didn't say that word, did you? Really?
Sorry. Well, yeah, because my bad.
No.
Oh, sorry.
There's no need to
I'm
use that
talking to
word.
me.
Yeah,
I'm talking to myself.
I know, but I'm talking to you.
Oh, sorry.
There's so many better words that you can
Okay,
use than
sorry.
that word.
Alright.
No R word. Come on.
Alright.
All right. So you're going to think about this stuff as you're going. You have to think about the class you have and how you're preparing it. If you're going to play these games, you may have a class of 30. Then what are you going to do? Come on, guys, figure this one out. There's 4 courts, a class of 30. What can you do?
Divide that by 4.
Okay, so they're divided by 4, so what do you get?
4 times. Oh, you have 7. Or, because it's not, you can't divide 4.
So what happens?
You put those extra 2 on, like,
Yeah. You just have teams of an extra person.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, you just put, and you just explain. Sometimes that's going to happen, but this will also help your tactical approach. But your rules, routines, and warm-ups still should be consistent. So here's an example. Take a look at the picture here. In a traditional school soccer game, if you're playing one court, look at you have 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 versus 7. So there's 14 there, right? Well, how many people are touching the ball at one time? Right. So now we have another court that has 3 versus 3, and there's 4 courts on them. How many people are playing, first of all?
6 on one court.
Altogether.
24.
24, there we go. Man, you gotta do this math stuff, right? Okay, 24, with the potential of a lot more people touching the ball, right? So do you understand the reasoning behind it now?
Yeah.
The small-sided games? So the things you have to consider, though, are what happens if the ball goes out of bounds? So this is where that color coding comes in as well. Because if I'm playing and the ball, let's use my illustrator here. So let's say this is the red court and this is a red ball. All right, and this is the yellow ball. Well, it's already yellow. Say the yellow ball goes here. This team knows what ball to touch, right? Which ball do they play with? The red one. So if the yellow one goes there, you have to have that rule and establish that rule with your students. This is what's going on here. You can't go into the other field, the other court. You establish when can you go in. When would be a good time to go in?
Like if a teacher sees it, or it's like all student. Like if a student sees like the other person's ball in there.
If the yellow team goes, if the ball goes in there and the red team's playing a game, when's a good time to go in? When the game stops.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a stop and play? Sooner or later, yeah. Or somebody can roll it out or kick it over or something like that. But you want to emphasize you don't want the other person going into the other court because it's safety issues there and it's play issues. Sometimes it's good to have a backup, right? Just in case something happens. Net games. Now, net games can be done a couple different ways depending on whatever you're playing. So you can have 4 courts, the same, right? So there could be court 1, court 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a terrible 8. But so we have different courts, and you could have red 1 versus red 2, red 3, red 4. But even that, you may have a net. You may only let's take volleyball for instance. You may only have 2 volleyball nets that go against the whole length of your thing. So there's one net. So just say this is the volleyball court. Actually, I'm going to erase that. Do that again. So let's put for demonstration purposes, let's do a black line or purple line down here. So let's pretend that there's 2 volleyball courts in this big purple line. Let's work better. Yeah, it's a lot bigger, but okay. So there's two volleyball nets. You can divide and put, this can be one, this could be the other. So red can be playing red here, and then yellow and yellow can be playing on the same court. They're just playing half games because they're small-sided teams, right? Same thing over here. Got it? Some games might be smaller, like badminton or tennis, and they may be working on single skills. So you can set up longer, or you can set up even more, depending on the equipment and the space you need. Right? So small-sided games here. And if you notice, there's 8 courts: red, orange, yellow, light green, dark green, light blue, dark blue, and purple. So, and now you're accommodating 8, 16. Comes after 16.
19.
24,
Oh,
32.
Oh.
So if you have a lot of students.
Wait, how you explain the course? You're putting a cone to the.
You can put cones. You just put a piece of tape on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all, and I'll show you some pictures. So you see here, they have two volleyball games going on. I put a red line there to really emphasize it, but you just put a piece of tape there and say, okay, this is your volleyball court here, and this is yours here. So it takes some planning. All right? Tennis. Here's another example. See, they're just playing over a line. Here, they're not even using the net. They're just practicing hitting without the net, which is okay. You don't always need all the equipment. In a perfect world, yeah, it's great. But, I used to teach tennis, but I only had 3 tennis nets, 3 of these portable light nets. So I had to be inventive, and sometimes it's just a piece of string that goes across. You're going to have to sometimes think what's going on. Half the time you're going to be teaching outside, you might be teaching on grass. So what are things that can work? Come on, think.
Wait, like outside
Yeah.
on the grass?
Yeah, how are we going to play tennis?
Would you just do it like in the air kind of thing? Or-
Okay, if we don't have nets, can we play it without nets?
Yeah.
Yeah. How?
Well, like let's put a rope on the
A
ground.
rope, cones, right? All right. So some of the stuff you're going to have to think about. You're going to have to plan ahead of time. Target games. Remember what target games are?
Oh, wait,
Come on. It's in the name.
RQ?
Okay, but what are they?
Oh, like accuracy kind of.
You're shooting towards a target. You're trying to hit towards a target. Come on, guys. It's Wednesday. Do we have to go run around the track once and then come back? Wake you guys up some? All right, target games. So the targets, you could have them, the targets all on one side, or if you have multiple targets. So say we were doing archery. We need to be safe, right? So we have enough room for 16 students. If we have this, the white zone in here, this would be the safety zone. So it would be the safety zone. I really wish I had a pen. Oops. Safety zone. Safety zone. Oops. So this is the area where people stand that you don't have to worry as a teacher an arrow going through a student's leg. We don't have Robin Hood in there, or Katniss, or whoever you want. Katniss, I guess, more current. Okay, so bowling. Here's some examples. Bowling. You see how everything's going to one direction? So that's how bowling was helped. This, if you look at, I think it's called bowlersed.com. It's the bowling goes and they provide mats and stuff like that to teach bowling skills. Those bowling balls are made of rubber. This is curling. And the reason I put this on, I was getting my hair cut the other day, and they had this on TV, curling. And I talked about before, curling's done on ice, and teams are trying to get their stone, what they call a stone, into this big bullseye target area. And then what they do is they have like little brooms that kind of like melt the ice to kind of let it go. And then they try to defend by putting stones in different places. So they're two target type games. And then archery. I have two pictures of archery. This one has different bows of different colors. So it's color coordinated that way, but I also think it's color coordinated because of weight when you pull the bow back. These aren't color coordinated, but do you also see how it's set up? You see the targets down that end? You see the arrows? How they're set? And where the students are. So they're all facing the same direction. All right. Multiple striking and fielding game areas. Now this is a tough one. All right. So we talked about this before, and how the layout should be for a striking game. And one way to do this is have 3 fields set up this way. So this is home plate for each one. This is considered the safety zone right in here. Teacher can as a teacher, bless you. As a teacher, you're going to stand in the middle so you can see what's going on here, here, and here. Have you ever played at Corp, Central Wahoo Regional Park? Have you played baseball or softball up there? If you go up there, there are softball fields, because Special Olympics does softball. They have 4 fields, all with home plate, like towards the middle of the complex. So that's where we do our Special Olympics volunteering. So this is a game I used to use. which was kind of tactical for hitting and striking. It's more elementary based, but you can adapt it and modify it. So I was teaching the skill of hitting and catching and fielding, baseball skills. Down here, this is the striking zone. So this is where they hit. Each cone is where a fielder would stand. And the fielder, they can stand, stay with me, Jacob. They can stand anywhere in this area. So fielders can be here, anywhere here. So you might have one here, a fielder. And at the start, they all stand in the cones because they don't know better. But teaching it tactically, you start to talk to them. Where can you position yourself to help your team out? So I'm just going to do this real fast so you can see. So I start talking to them. They may all start out with fielding here. So one fielder, two fielders, three fielders, four fielders. What you do is this is where you hit. This is where the hitter is. All right, I'm just going to put it as an H. Now let's talk how to modify that. So they're going to hit there off a tee. And then they're going to run. So they can run to get 1 point, 2 point, 3 points, or 4 points. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm challenging them. I'm letting them challenge at their own level, though. So you hit the ball, and then you run. Is that what you do when you strike? Do a striking activity?
Baseball, softball.
Baseball, softball. Kickball, do you run?
Yeah.
Cricket, do you run?
I think so.
Yeah. So most striking games you hit and you run. All right. So you're doing that, and then you have the opposite team. What are they doing? They're fielding, right? So when you first tell them, they kind of stand all in line there, like the red. You let them all hit once, twice, and you stop the game. All right, come on in. Because you're going around while they're hitting, you go and you watch their hitting skills, if that's what our focus is on today.
This is a cone right there.
They're cones. They're hitting off a tee.
Oh, that's a ball on the tee.
A ball on the tee. If we want to make that harder, how can we make that harder or more challenging for them?
Use that actual baseball ball. Yeah, the big one.
Or what?
Have someone feed it.
Feed it by
Like tossing it.
tossing it. Underhand toss would be easier than it would be.
Okay, so where are they? They're hitting outward?
They're hitting this way.
Because they're all on a tee, right?
No, just the ball is here. This is where the ball is. These are just cones. So this would be first base, second base, third base, fourth base, home plate.
Oh, I see.
So the cones represent,
bases?
yeah, I use cones instead of bases there, so it's visual.
Oh, okay.
All right?
Oh, no, I'm not. Okay.
So so if you hit the ball, Jacob,
Yeah.
you're going to take the ball, or you're going to run,
Yeah.
and you're going to try to touch whichever
okay.
cone.
Okay.
But you only can hit one cone. You're only allowed to touch one cone.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to hit the ball, and you're going to run, and you're going to have to decide, can I get to
Oh, I see.
which cone you can get to.
And the people in the field have to try to get you.
They try to get you out, and the way they get you out is they field the ball, and they have to bring it back to home plate, to the start.
To home. So you gotta get to that cone before they get to home.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so that you understand that a little bit more.
Yeah.
I probably didn't explain it as well as I should have. But what you're doing now is you have to learn to make decisions, right? And the fielders, like the blue here, they decide, well, I'm going to cover this zone here. This could be this fielder zone, and this could be this fielder zone. This fielder here might have this whole zone, and this fielder here might have this zone.
Pretty dangerous though, because they could, if those two, if the yellow and green are playing two, you can hit it that way.
Now, what did we talk about?
Oh.
What did we talk about earlier?
Safe zone.
Safe zone and establishing, right? Establishing what happens when the ball goes in the opposite court.
Oh.
Do we establish that? You know, right. So we may have to talk about that, or we space it out further. This is just a quick diagram. So, but the thing is, there's a bucket here where they have to put the ball. So now the dynamics are, if the ball's hit over here, this fielder's getting it. This fielder here might have to run down here to get the relay throw.
Oh.
You know, or you know, if it's here, it might have to be relay, and then relay to this guy.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to work on strategy as well.
Yeah.
See, so that tactical approach is still applicable for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to diagram. We're going to stop for a little bit. We're going to go to our teaching, our unit plan that we just started. Well, I'm going to call it a unit plan right now, but it's the unit layout. And I want to go and really start exploring that. So we're going to talk about stuff like rules, routines, warm-ups, because that's going to be consistent, right? Rules, routines, and warm-ups are consistent no matter what you do. You want to have those set expectations. Things you're going to have to think about, management. If the ball goes into another court, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if the ball comes into another game? Because it's, you know, you look at it both ways. You're going to have learning boundaries. You're going to have to teach your students how to have boundaries. I like to use several visual things. So I might have a piece of tape down with cones on it for when I begin it. And as it goes on, I can get rid of the cones. Did we do that with soccer, Jacob?
No.
No, you didn't.
Wait, should I say it again?
Did you border your area with cones?
Yeah, we did.
And after a while, did you need them all? Did the students start to learn where the boundary lines were?
Yeah.
See?
Sorry.
See? You started to work on that even when you didn't know you were working on it. All right? So another consideration is entry into the gym and setting up equipment. So if we're going to play some games, we're going to have to talk about getting equipment, students getting equipment. So if we have that layout still, and we're going to have to look where we're placing equipment for students to gather it. Now, as students get older, so middle school and high school, they should be able to do some of this stuff by themselves, right? So you can have, when they come in, you might have on the board, we're going to play volleyball. Teams 1 and 4, your job is to set up the nets. 2 and 3, you're going to get the volleyballs, cone the areas off, all that. Is it easy enough to remember? Is it unfair expectations? No, because you're giving the students some ability. You're giving them some control, and they're going to work and want to do more. All right? So, restart rules. How are you starting the game back up if something happens? If we stop playing for a little bit, or how are we going to start it back up? What are we going to do? Maybe it's something simple like in the beginning, you may just have to roll the ball back in. But as you get older, so if the soccer ball goes out, you might have somebody roll it back in. That might be one level. The next level, you can throw it back in without defenders, but it has to be on your side going backwards towards your goal. And then level 3 is going to be taking the ball and playing it like a normal soccer game where you can have defenders. So that would be 3 different levels of restart. Same thing with defense. Defense, we go by cold, warm, and hot. And this is a slide that I skipped over before. I couldn't go backwards. So cold. Cold defense, maybe there's defenders, and the defenders can only stay. I like when I play soccer, defenders can only stay inside the hula hoop. And they have to keep one foot in that hula hoop. And that makes it a little bit challenging, but not super challenging. Warm might be the defenders can go anywhere. They can move anywhere. But they have to stay at arm's length away, so they can't steal the ball. Or if we're playing football, maybe they can bat the ball away, but they can't intercept it. Then hot would be the full rules. Okay? All right, you still with me? Yeah. You're not gonna fall asleep? Sure. All right. So what we're gonna do is